Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Let's do some quick hitters for a second here. We'll start in the WNBA, where Las Vegas Aces forward Asia Wilson became the first player in WNBA history to score 1,000 points in a season as the Aces beat the Connecticut Sun 84-71 yesterday. Let me say this really, really quick, okay? She's the best in the world. She's the best in the world. It's just that simple. Miami Heat's Bam Adebayo, who's rumored to be dating Wilson, wrote about the accomplishment with this post. Quote, hope everybody finds 1,000 reasons to smile on this lovely Sunday, end quote. She is the best. She is big time. Asia Wilson is something special. Okay. By the way, she's gonna win Defensive Player of the Year too. She's averaging 27 a game. All right. So she's the leading scorer in the league. Okay. There is no race for the league MVP. It's clearly hers. Okay. So let's make sure we understand that. And that's why I kept saying, I don't care what the Connecticut Sun, even the New York Liberty or anybody else is doing. You're going to have to show me somebody could take out Asia Wilson in the playoff series, and they're going to beat the Aces. I got to see it to believe it. 52% shooting from the field, 27 points per game. She is just big time. Make no mistake about it. That's my first quick hitter. Let's get to the second one right here, please, involving Caitlin Clark, who broke the rookie scoring record for a season yesterday when she dropped 35 points en route to a 110-109 victory over the Dallas Wings. Clark now has 761 points, breaking the record once held by Simone Augustus. However, there is a caveat. Augustus, who will be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame next month, set the mark back in 2006 when the WNBA regular season was just 34 games. Clark broke the record in 39 games. Who cares? She did it. And that's the bottom line. She's sensational in her own right. She's going to be a superstar in this league for years to come. She's clearly the rookie of the year. She's deserving of being an MVP candidate, even though she's behind Asia Wilson. And the Indiana Fever going to be in the playoffs. So I got to give Caitlin Clark love where it's due, as I have been doing. And I didn't even bother to ask my staff or anybody else because I was traveling yesterday. I didn't even bother to ask, did Cheryl Swoops call that game? I was just wondering. Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. Cheryl Swoops called the game because she was going up against the Dallas Wings. Okay? I didn't know the answer to that question. But I guess no news is good news, so there was no drama. Okay? Indiana Fever scored 110. That was a WNBA record. And on top of it all, she dropped 35. Caitlin Clark, and, obviously she's leading the league in assists and all this other stuff. She's phenomenal. She just is, okay? So props to her and props to Asia Wilson. Let's get on to the third item. Let's go back to college football, where we saw the biggest shift in Heisman odds in Las Vegas. That's because Arch Manning, the nephew of Peyton and Eli Manning, accounted for 5 touchdowns as the Texas Longhorns beat UTSA. And Manning didn't start the game. He came in to relieve starter Quinn Ewers, who left due to an oblique injury. After Saturday's performance, Manning's Heisman odds went from 150-1 down to 16-1. Wow. I mean, I don't know how it gets that. I mean, I guess because his last name is Manning, but he did put on a show Saturday. That was something special to see. And he was just saying that he won't be out. They're saying he won't be out forever. The injury isn't as serious as they initially thought, so he's expected to be back on they're going to evaluate him on a week-to-week basis. But Arch Manning, I mean, we've been waiting to see him. And to show up for the first time and to ball out like that, the brother's got a promising future. He clearly has an elite pedigree. Peyton and Eli. I mean, that's 4 Super Bowl championships right there. And those are his uncles. So it's going to be real interesting to watch this brother play. And it's just made Texas that much more attractive to watch as well. Let me transition to the next subject, because what we cannot say is that this was attractive to watch. I was in Vegas. And I was on hand for UFC Noche, or Noche UFC, Saturday night at the Sphere. You might recall Sugar Sean O'Malley was on the show last week and predicted a second-round knockout in a bantamweight title match. Well, Merab Dvalishvili had other plans as he ended Sugar Sean's 4-year winning streak. O'Malley had been unbeaten in 7 straight fights heading into Noche UFC. It's the first time O'Malley has tasted defeat since UFC 252. He owned up to the loss to his fans afterwards, saying, quote, overpromised, underdelivered. Sorry. Love you guys. Okay. This is a tough thing for me to say. I was bored shitless. It was a snooze fest. Hell, Dana White wasn't happy about it. See, this is the kind of stuff that I love. Listen, the UFC has a supporter in me. Dana White has a supporter in me. Stuff like this is what makes the UFC. It's what compromises them. Marab is a grappler. It's a wrestler. And yeah, he threw some punches, but for the most part, he was taking Sean O'Malley to the ground. That's not what people want to see. People want to see knockouts. They want to see an action-packed fight. They don't want to see somebody circling around the ring looking for an opportunity to grab at your knees and your ankles. That's not what they want to see. That's the stuff that gets in the way, potentially, of the UFC. That's the one that potentially makes it unattractive. When we think about Conor McGregor against Michael Chandler, you know why we get excited about that fight? Because we know somebody's going to get knocked out. Even though Justin Gaethje got knocked out months ago, we love the slugfest. We don't want to see somebody tapping out, without the punches. Yeah, you could tap out. But we don't want to see a bunch of grappling up against the cage. We don't want to see that. When you see a knockout artist, you want to see them knocked out. You want to see them knock somebody out. You want to see them get knocked out. That's what you want to see. And that's what made the fight boring. Wasn't Sean O'Malley's fault. I mean, you got to handle your business because that's the sport you in. You chose that job. Nobody asked you to do it. You chose it. So you got to know how to continue to make that excitement. And I appreciate his quote, his tweet, because he was absolutely on the money. Overpromised, underdelivered. And that's on him. But we kind of saw it coming. Conor McGregor versus Nurmagomedov was somewhat similar. That wasn't boring at all. That was one of the major, biggest events I'd ever been a part of. And Nurmagomedov nearly dropped him, caught him with an overhand right. So we see stuff, we look for stuff like that. That's not what we got Saturday night. That was a snooze fest. Let me get to the boxing, though, because that wasn't. Now, you may recall Edgar Berlanga, who appeared on this show before his fight with Canelo Alvarez last week, and how he predicted a victory. But Alvarez did dominate the underdog Berlanga for most of the fight to win a unanimous decision with scorecards of 117, 110, 118, 109, 118, 109. Here's the deal. Canelo caught him with a left and dropped him in the third round. Berlanga punched his fist together, got up, and was fighting. Now, he was outclassed, but it wasn't boring. The brother wasn't playing. He wasn't backing up. And Fat Joe and all those Puerto Ricans that supported Berlanga made a good name. He made a good showing for himself. I was scared to death he was going to get slaughtered because I said, I know he know how to fight, and I know he knocked out his first 16 opponents in the first round, and I know that he's got 17 knockouts and a 22-0 record going into Saturday night. But my issue with Berlanga was, if you don't know how to back up against Canelo Alvarez, you're going to have a problem. And this brother stood there and was fighting. Now, again, he got outclassed. The better fighter won. But Berlanga's young. And if he hasn't been softened up by this brother has the potential to be a superstar in this game. I got mad props to give him. Because he showed up. He didn't back up. He was out there. He was ready to go. The whole nine. I got to give credit where credit is due. I got to do that. Because he was throwing blows. He was trying. It's just that he wasn't gifted enough to beat Canelo. But he didn't back up. Even when he got dropped, he got up. The moment one with the thought was too big for him. It wasn't. He just wasn't a superior boxer. That's all it was. But Berlanga is somebody to watch in the future. And by the way, as an aside, the Prince, Saudi Arabia, was sitting ringside. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name for y'all all over these airwaves, but I'm going to tell you this. They called me on my phone. They asked me to come down to ringside to see him. And sitting next to him was Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford, he and I had a conversation for about 5 minutes in between fights. And Terrence Crawford wants Canelo Alvarez badly. Badly. He said flat out, it's for the legacy. He remembered when Roberto Duran moved up in weight and fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He remembered when Hearns tried to do it. He remembered when Sugar Ray won at the light heavyweight division. He's like, it can be done. Canelo Alvarez can be beaten. I can beat Canelo Alvarez. And I got to tell you, Terrence Crawford looked a little bit bigger. He wants one fight and one fight only. And he is willing to move up to 168 to fight Canelo Alvarez at the super middleweight division for the super middleweight title. The more I listen to him speak, the more I don't mind the thought of that fight happening. I just wanted to say that. Coming up, there was another assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump over the